How do you make the perfect meatball or the perfect meatloaf? There's a secret to it, and I'll show you how. First of all, you want to start with quality meats. The meats that are required for an authentic Italian meatball would be ground veal, ground pork, and just a small amount of ground beef. You don't want a lean ground beef. It needs to be a regular ground beef that has a little bit of fat content. That fat content releases enough fat to render flavor into the meatball. So as you can see on this, we've got 2/3 the veal and the pork and 1/3 the ground beef. So more veal and pork and less ground beef. Some Italians use ground sausage as well, and you can include that if you choose to. So they're the quality meats that you want. We have those already mixed together in the bowl. The other ingredients that you need are 2 eggs. The eggs need to be at room temperature. Almost always, when you use eggs, they should be at room temperature, unless you're doing a dough, pastry, pie crust, something like that, in which case they need to be cold. We're going to add a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, and it's shredded. That adds a little bit of salt to it, so you don't have to add as much sodium to it. Having said that, we're going to sprinkle just a little bit of sea salt into it, and a little bit of black pepper. Additionally, we're going to use ground basil and ground oregano. These are fresh herbs that I'm adding today. If you're using dry herbs, you need to use less because dry herbs are much stronger than fresh herbs. Lastly, we're going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper. That'll add a little kick to it. If you don't care for red pepper, then you can omit that. Also, let's add a little onion powder. Onion powder is one of my favorite ingredients, and it's little known, little used, but I think it's a nice secret to foods. Okay, we're going to mix this together. Have to get your hands a little dirty on this one. One important thing to point out is that anytime that you're using ground beef, ground pork, veal, whichever, you don't want to over-handle it. If you handle it too much, then it's going to be tough and you won't get that nice moisture without too much density. Okay, now having mixed that, the most important ingredient, the secret ingredient for the best meatloaf and best meatballs is milk. We almost always add breadcrumbs, don't we? This today I'm doing gluten-free. I've used rolled oats like you would use in oatmeal. And what I did was pulse them just for a few minutes in a food processor to make them smaller in a breadcrumb consistency. And then I added milk. In this case it was half and half, which is half milk, half cream. And you want to add this instead of breading to your meat mixture. Again, it's the milk that adds in the moisture and prevents your meat from drying out in baking. So let's incorporate that nicely, again, without over-handling it too much. And once we've done that, this is the consistency that you want. I know it looks a little wet, a little almost soupy, but that's going to translate into nice moisture when you cook them. And of course, you can make these any size that you want. You can do small sizes of meatballs. Again, they're wet. Don't be turned off by it. If they're too wet for your preference, just add a little more of the oats or breadcrumbs. Or you can make a larger meatball like the Italians traditionally do. You want to bake these for about 7 to 12 minutes on 375. And having done that earlier, in the interest of time, let's show you how they turned out. This is a finished meatball. We're going to cut into it and show you how nice and moist it is. As you can see, it's not terribly dense. It has a lot of moisture to it. It's perfect. That's the secret to the perfect meatball or meatloaf. It's milk. Enjoy.